shall I restart this?
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, we go from the beginning, general explanation of the whole thing as you did before.
Okay. Roughly what time frame are we shooting for on this is the beginning of the program here. Let's let it get.
So now we're actually building a power plant?
Yeah, it's building. There we go. It's got the plant built, and now it's setting up. Okay. Okay, the basic idea of how to make a power plant works revolves around heat flow. You've got a lot of heat generated by the reactor. The only thing a reactor does, as far as we're concerned, is it makes an awful lot of heat. Tremendous quantity of heat. 3,000 megawatts, or roughly 3 million horsepower. All of that heat is energy. We're going to convert some of that energy into electricity. That's what the power plant does. So you start off with a reactor. That's the blinking colored left side of the screen. It's scintillating radioactivity. And it's generating all of that heat there. We want to take that heat out of that reactor and move it to the generator. Another. We're going to do that with water. Water is very good for the plant. So we're going to pump a bunch of water in those pumps down in the lower center. We're going to pump that water into the reactor area, and the water is going to be heated up by the reactor. It's going to get really hot. Then it's going to go through the pipe at the top. It comes out to there at a temperature of 604 degrees Fahrenheit. And there it's going to go into a steam generator. The steam generator is just a whole bunch of pipes. And hot water flows inside the pipes, and cold water flows outside the pipes. And the hot water inside the pipes heats up the cold water outside the pipes. If you ever put your hand on a water pipe, you know what I mean about how hot your hand can get touching that hot water pipe. The steam generator works the same way. So that real hot water coming out of the reactor goes into the steam generator, heats up the other water in the steam generator. That other water boils in the steam, turns yellow on the screen, and the hot steam from the steam generator goes to the turbine. The turbine is like a big fan. So hot steam, very, very hot, very powerful, rushes into the turbine, hits the turbine blades, makes the turbine spin really fast. The turbine is hooked up to the generator. The generator is the green rectangle on the right panel. It's generating 983 megawatts of power. And that's how we get our electricity. The steam coming out of the turbine goes back to another thing like a steam generator. It's just like a steam generator, and it's called a condenser instead. And then it comes out of the condenser as water, and some more pumps coming back to the steam generator. So we have 3 loops here. Primary cooling loop is on the left side of the screen. That takes water, pumps it through the reactor, takes heat away from the reactor, and delivers it to the steam generator. The secondary loop pumps water from the steam generator to the turbine and back down to the condenser, around and around. And finally, the last cooling loop is on the right side of the screen. That pumps water through the condenser to the gigantic hyperbolic cooling tower, which is that huge tower on the right side of the screen. Those are big towers you see around the power plants. Tall. So those are the 3 loops. All we're doing is carrying from the reactor through the turbine to the hyperbolic cooling tower. In the process, electricity is generated. All we're doing is moving heat. Of course, the way we make the heat is with radioactivity. And the radioactivity is what worries us. That's the So safety issues involve making sure that the radioactivity stays where it's supposed to be inside the reactor. That's fairly easy to do, so long as everything goes all right. The radioactive stuff doesn't have legs, it doesn't like to wander around, it's perfectly happy to stay But if for some reason you don't put water into it, the reactor can't give its heat to the water. The reactor instead takes all the heat itself. If you keep pouring heat in the reactor gets hotter and hotter and hotter until it melts down, and then you have problems. And the real difficulty, in fact, the central safety issue in the reactor is the fact that you can't completely turn the thing off. A car engine you can turn off with a flip of a switch. So if something goes wrong with the car, you turn off the ignition key, and the engine just stops dead, cold, 100%. But the reactor doesn't quite work that way. You can turn a reactor off at a second's notice, but it doesn't turn it all the way off. Even after you turn it off, it still keeps making heat for up to about 24 hours after you turn it off. And that's the problem. You've got to keep putting water into that thing for up to about 24 hours after you turn it off. So if you get a bad accident happening, a lot of pumps break, a lot of pipes break, you've got to somehow be able to guarantee that you can keep giving water into that for a long time. And that's what all this safety about these reactors revolves around. How can we be absolutely sure that no matter what happens, we keep getting water?
Stop it for a second. Can we illustrate some of what you just were talking about?
Yeah.
That's okay. You're talking about the central safety factor, and you can't turn it off even when you turn it off. Can you illustrate that?
Yeah.
As you're talking about it, I think if you can see it.
Yeah, let me just show you what happens. Take a reactor, turn it off, and then break all the pumps. So I'm going to turn it off first, and then I'm going to turn off all the pumps. So first you push the rods into the reactor. That's how you shut it down. In this program, it takes 5 seconds to shut it down. The other one takes like a second or so. So it's turned off all the way. Now I'm going to go over here and turn off all these pumps. So first I turn off all the primary pumps. Now I'm going to turn off all the secondary pumps. Now I'm going to turn off all the pumps in the front. Right now, no pumps, no water flowing. The temperature is rising. Even though the reactor is turned off, the temperature is rising very, very rapidly.
Where?
In the reactor itself, in fact, all through the system. But the important temperature is the temperature right by the reactor. Right now it's 996 Fahrenheit, 1121. You can see it rising very quickly. And indeed, it will continue to rise for quite some time. The reactor pressure will rise very rapidly. And as the reactor pressure rises, you can start breaking more pipes and seals inside the system. Really, this program is unfair. It's allowing a reactor pressure of 2,700 psi. At this temperature, most of the seals would have broken, and yet the reactor pressure is still rising now, as is the reactor temperature. At this temperature, this program does not break seals until you pass 3,000 psi. So now we're actually breaking pipes and seals inside the cooling system, which means water is going to start pouring out of the thing, and that's going to make it even harder to cool, which means it's going to heat up even faster. As the reactor temperature approaches 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit, the zirconium alloy in the cladding of the reactor begins reacting with the steam in there, stripping off the oxygen to form zirconium dioxide. That does two things. First, it corrodes the reactor even more. That's starting to happen now. The reactor is corroding. Pieces of the reactor are breaking loose and falling out. You can't see it on the screen, but it's supposed to be happening inside there, which means a lot of radioactivity is being dumped into the water, which means the water is very, very radioactive. To make matters worse, the pipes are broken. The reactor pressure in the lower left corner of the screen is falling rapidly. That means that water is pouring out of the system, so you've got intensely radioactive water pouring out of the reactor. Because the thing is breaking up now, it's even harder to cool, which means the reactor temperature rises even faster. make matters worse, you're also stripping hydrogen out of the water. Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. You're stripping the oxygen out of the water, which leaves just hydrogen, and you're getting a lot of excess hydrogen released into the power plant. This is one problem they had at 3 Mile Island. A lot of hydrogen came out, and it exploded around 1 in the afternoon. It didn't do any damage. It's funny, 3 days later, the NRC was worried about the hydrogen bubble. It turned out the hydrogen bubble never existed. They admitted that rather meekly. Anyway, the reactor temperature is still rising very steadily. At this stage, I would almost say the situation is out of control. If I were very lucky, I might be able to turn everything back around. But at this stage, it's going to be a little difficult to turn it around. So the reactor just keeps steadily heating up. It's got a long ways to go before you get a meltdown, though. Reactors don't really melt until the temperature passes 5,000 Fahrenheit. It is broken up, very brittle, very badly corroded. Pieces of the reactor have fallen off. It's in very, very bad shape now. At this stage, it is safe to say that the power plant has been destroyed. You've got $1 billion piece of junk on your hands. And it's still going.
Physically destroyed or operationally destroyed?
Operationally destroyed. A very useless piece of equipment. And
why? Because all the pipes and all the pumps are all damaged?
Well, the problem is you've got that radioactive water spread all throughout the containment building. And so everything is going to be very, very radioactive now. Now, conceivably, if you wanted to prove you could get it working, and the people at TMI are trying to do this, you could get all the radioactive water out, hose everything down, spend a great deal of time cleaning, and conceivably you could get the thing running again. And the Metropolitan Edison people are trying to do that just to prove that they can get their power plant running again. But at this point, the cost of doing that is probably greater than the cost of just building a new one. So you can see this is a slow process. It's taking a long time for the thing to heat up. In fact, it may be topped. No, it topped out. Well, we got lucky. The temperature peaked at 3789, and now it's slowly starting to fall.
How did that happen?
You always get a certain amount of residual cooling from just water laying around in the power plant, going to steam, just straight contact with air. Air doesn't cool things very well, but it will give you some cooling. And one of the laws of thermodynamics is that things cool faster when they're hotter. And so it got up to 3,700, and it was cooling faster than it was generating heat.
Therefore, we will not get a meltdown on this one?
We will not get a meltdown out of this reactor unless I pull the rods out. So.
Could you do that? I'd like to see them.
Okay, let's have it. This is an act of insanity here. What we're going to do is pull the rods out. We don't need to pull them out much. I'll just pull them out one stop. In fact, I'll push them back in now. And just that little burst of power should be enough to take it over the top. Let's see. Well, let's get this. Let's get it. That's the 300 megawatt level of power right now. And even at that very low level, the temperature just takes off because there's almost no cooling.
In other words, the further the rods are out, the more power you generate?
And the faster it'll heat up. 5,000 meltdown, and
What is happening?
the reactor is melting all down. Into the bottom of the pressure vessel.
What's happening to the radioactivity at this point?
Well, most of the radioactivity, since it's very mixed up now with water and all sorts of junk, the radioactivity is spread all throughout the containment building. You've got intense amounts of radioactivity radioactive steam, radioactive water, radioactive gases, just, lots of radioactivity. It's all inside the containment building. If you've done everything properly, all that radioactivity is sealed inside the containment building, because the containment building is hermetically sealed and has very, very thick walls, and all that radioactivity will stay in there. If you're having a particularly bad day, maybe these 10-foot thick walls will miraculously develop a crack in them, or maybe you've had an earthquake or whatever, and maybe somehow there's a crack or a hole and the radioactivity comes out through there, and then you've got big problems.
What exactly is it that melted down?
The core is what melted down. The core consists of thousands of skinny little tubes. Each tube is about half an inch in diameter and maybe 18 feet long. And each tube is packed with lots and lots of little tiny pellets. Each pellet is about like a piece of chalk. And so you load all these little pellets of uranium fuel into the tube, and then you've got one fuel rod. And then you bundle a bunch of tubes together to form a fuel rod assembly. You'll have maybe 50 to 100 fuel rods in a fuel rod assembly. And then you take a bunch of these assemblies together, hundreds of them perhaps, and bundle them all together, and you've got a reactor. And then in the spaces between the rods, there's plenty of empty space between them, you can put control rods which will control the reaction, speed it up or slow it down. And then you also have the water flowing through that helps keep it cool. So
and that water flowing through is what's heated up and then goes out the top?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So the radioactivity is the uranium pellets. I mean, that's...
Yeah, the uranium pellets have the energy inside of them, locked inside of them. And normally that radioactivity and the heat and the energy aren't released. Naturally, they're released very, very slowly. A reactor is a machine that accelerates the process and unlocks the power much, much, much faster, which makes it much hotter. So, and you can control the rate at which it releases that energy with the control rods. So, you pull the rods out, you get a lot of reactions, and it starts getting really, really hot. You push the rods in, and the reactions slow down. But the problem is, as I said before, even when you put the rods all the way in, you'll still get some decay heat. You'll still get some radioactivity releasing heat for a while afterwards. It slows down. And when you first turn it off, you get about 300 megawatts of power. And that rapidly dies off. After 24 hours or so, it's much, much less.
Okay. So the danger is in the fuel rods melting